Hi. Hi there. Welcome to part 15 of my video series. It seems quite unbelievable I've done 15 videos already, but I keep getting ideas for more. And today's inspired by a conversation I had with someone during the week. Do we need to be subject specific with SF? Do we need SF for substance misuse, SF for trauma, SF for suicide prevention, SF for alcohol users, and so on and so forth? Okay, before I answer, let me just kind of think about the therapy world, not the overall bigger solution focused world, but just the therapy world. Common currency in therapy, whichever association you're accredited with, would be listening to people, would be validating people's experiences, acknowledging people's constructs and experiences, and applying a model that you use in that kind of framework. So that being said, regardless of what people bring to the therapy room, in a solution focused sense, we acknowledge, respect, validate, listen. The first question we ask, as we've discussed and I've discussed in other videos, as can be seen elsewhere by other practitioners, is what's your best hopes from our talking together? What's your best hopes from therapy? What's your best hopes from coming here? And what we're trying to do at that point is establish, hopefully, how we can be of use to the person sitting in front of us. Now, I don't think that question needs to be modified with any particular group of people. It might need to be simplified or adapted or explained if a person doesn't understand it. So I was having supervision with somebody during the week, and they said, when I ask this question, the young people I'm working with don't really understand it. And so the question itself, there's nothing wrong with it, but maybe we need to clarify it. Maybe we need to say, well, okay, when I'm asking you about your best hopes, you may have had some ideas coming here today that therapy would or wouldn't be useful. So I'm trying to establish with you what you would like to be different and how you think therapy might feed into that, might help that. So do we ask that differently if somebody's using substances? No. Do we ask that differently if somebody's got a trauma background? No. Do we ask that differently if somebody has depression? No. What we might do is define it further. We might say, what are your best hopes given this situation? Because somebody will come to us and they will outline a problem. They will outline the place they're in. And sometimes best hopes may seem some way off. And our job is to help them to look at those. Okay. So I used to think, working in substance misuse, working in drugs and alcohol for many, many years, that my client group were particularly different. I've come to realize they're not particularly different. Everybody has a preferred future. Everybody has a desired outcome. Sometimes those preferred futures and desired outcomes are tempered or tailored by the situation we're in. If you're in a country where being openly gay is not only frowned upon but punishable, then your best hopes may well be tempered by that. So we can ask about best hopes given somebody's situation. Okay, what about the other SF questions? And what would be different? And who would notice? And what would you notice? And what's the first thing that would happen would be telling you these things are changing. When do you notice a difference? What's a small difference you'd notice? Exceptions, instances of a preferred future happening, rich descriptions of a preferred future. None of these are subject specific as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't mean we don't have to take into account people's particular circumstances, which is why I said at the beginning of this session, the beginning of this video, that people's we validate, we acknowledge, we listen to people. So somebody in a domestic violence situation has a different situation to somebody who's using substance misuse, or maybe doing both. It's not our job to tailor solution focus to what we think might be needed by that person in that particular situation. They will let us know whether the solution focused questions are useful. And our job is to respond to the last answer by asking the next question. So why do we see lots of advertisements for SF with suicide prevention, SF with substance misusers, SF with young people, SF with this, with that? There are two main reasons. One, the experience of a practitioner is in that setting. So I can talk about working with people with substance misuse problems and how I use SF in that setting. But I'm still using SF. I'm not using SF any differently. Okay? It's not substance misuse SF. It's SF in that setting. It doesn't it doesn't mean that I should do something different, or that I've got particular knowledge or experience or insider trading about what happens with people with substance misuse. To do that means that I'm saying I'm going to do SF differently, that these people are different, that their needs are different. And to do that then means I'm making some sort of value-based assumption, some sort of judgment around what's best for these people. And I'm not going to do that. As a solution-focused therapist, as a solution-focused practitioner, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to still ask the same questions, acknowledging that everybody has a different construct. Everybody has a different context. Everybody has different needs, different preferred futures, different knowledge about themselves, their constructs, their experience, different resources. And my job is to ask questions that harness that. So the other reason that we see these things are, and this is maybe, I'm not going to make a judgment on this, I'm going to make it as a fact. People need to sell their businesses. People who use solution focus need to sell their wares. And if I've worked in substance misuse for 25 years and I'm going to sell my solution focus wares, I'm going to earn money by training, I'm going to earn money by presentations, then I need to appeal to a group of people that will recognize my experience, my background, and the fact I've worked with a particular group of people. So there's a commercial reason for naming SF with particular groups of people, and that comes the same in terms of writing books or articles, and I don't have a judgment around that as such. How we do that, how we advertise that, how we make a living is not my concern. I think as long as we're very clear that our SF is no different to other SF, we might apply different how can I put this, different resources to using our SF. So I'm not very creative. I don't use play therapy, I don't use art or anything like that in my SF. I try to be as creative as I can with the questions I ask and the words that I use. Other people that use art or music or other resources to support their use of SF questions, I have no problem with it. Good for them, and I understand that they will do that, and they might use that to write a book, present something as a publication, do some training or so on. But the nub of it is that the whole point I'm trying to make in today's video is that SF is not different depending on who you work with. To do so, to make SF different depending on who you work with, means you're saying it works better with one group and another. It means you're saying it works better if you do it in a particular way with one group or another. Now, the language of SF may change slightly if you're working with younger people, if you're working with people for whom the language you do SF in isn't their first language, then you may have to adapt some of the questions. But the essence, the understanding, the stance, the questions, the outcome, the preferred future, the way that you follow a client's agenda, the way that you determine the client's best hopes and gather a rich description, look for and ask for exceptions or instances of it happening. These are all the same regardless of who you work with. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm going to stop today's video now. I'll be really pleased to hear what other people think, and if they think that we need to work differently with different groups of people, or working differently or doing SF differently are two different topics, and I'd be really pleased to start a conversation around that. As usual, I don't have all the answers. I'm just saying there's some things out there that are happening that are really interesting me, and I'm going to kind of start a conversation there. Just to say, when I run SF training now, I never ever run it as SF with X or SF with so and so. I might talk about SF in a supervision setting or SF in a inpatient department or something like that. But the groups of people don't change. Groups of people change, but the SF doesn't really change. Okay. Last thing I want to say before I put the mic off today is that events in America over the last couple of weeks have been horrendous. Elliot Connie and the SF University have made a public statement, which is on Facebook and Elliot Connie's pages. I fully support that statement. Please go and have a look at it. Please share it as widely as possible if you can. Have a great day. It's Friday morning here in New Zealand. Spring's around the corner. I hope spring, or at least a good day, is around the corner for you guys. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.